I'd like to call the meeting to order. This is our August 8th meeting at 6:31. Could you, let's see, call to order, which I did. Pledge of allegiance, please, would you all stand? Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Now I'd like to ask Pastor Peggy Johnson to come up for our invocation from St. Paul's Church. Thank you.
Good evening. It's nice to be here tonight. Good to see you all. And won't you join me now in prayer? Holy God, as we begin this meeting, we want to give you praise and thank you, knowing that your presence is with us now. We pray for the time we have together to discuss issues and make decisions. We ask for your guidance tonight throughout the meeting, that all of our thoughts and actions would reflect your will. Thank you for each person here in leadership roles and for each member of the community who want to help to make Monee the best village that it can be. It is in your holy name that we pray. Amen.
Thank you very much. We have a roll call, please.
Trustee Blue? Trustee Gray? Trustee Holston? Trustee Horn?
I'm here.
Trustee Razik?
Present.
Trustee Udris?
Present.
Thank you. Open to the public. Agenda items only. Anybody who would like to have something to say about the agenda, please step forward. Okay, we'll move on to the consent agenda. Could I please have a motion to approve the consent agenda?
I'll make that motion. Second.
Motion and a second. Any discussion? If not, roll call, please.
Trustee Gray?
Present.
Trustee Horn?
Yes.
Trustee Razik?
Yes.
Trustee Udris?
Yes.
Okay, we'll move on to the clerk's report. Denisha?
I just want to just show my gratitude for this past weekend with the Love in Action Monee. That was really great, and of course had all the family out there, and the children really enjoyed being a part. So I just wanted to say I really appreciated us having that, and we look forward to the next one. End of report.
Thank you very much. And I have no report today, so we'll move on to the administrator's report.
Thank you, Mayor. Board members, item H1 on your agenda is an intergovernmental agreement with the School District 201U. And this draft copy of the proposed intergovernmental agreement is to provide a before and after school program at Monee Elementary. It is up for your review today. Although the action requested was passage of the intergovernmental agreement, I would suggest that it's just up for your review, as we have not heard back from the school district yet. So I just wanted to bring it to the attention of the board. If there's any questions at this point, either myself or Diana are happy to answer those.
I do have actually one question. I spoke with you on the phone earlier, Administrator Wallace, about this. In this presentation to us, it says strictly that the before and after school program will be held at the school only. Okay? Snow days, whatever gets canceled, it will not be held. Okay?
That's correct.
Okay. That is correct. It won't be held anywhere else. That's all I want to know. Thank you.
Okay. Any other questions? Thank you. You can look for this to appear on future agendas. Item H2 on the under my report is the IPBC resolution, and basically the IPBC is it's a intergovernmental personal benefit cooperative. It's a self-insurance pool for health insurance, and the resolution before you is to withdraw from one IPBC subpool and move our membership into another IPBC subpool. And the reason for this is there's been some rearranging of subpool members in an effort to receive better benefit costs for the entire IPBC pool together. So at that, I'm happy to answer any other questions, or I would ask if Daryl's here, he might be able to answer those should you have them. It virtually has a zero change on our insurance.
No motion on here. You need action on this?
Yes, sir.
Need a
Resolution.
motion to approve the resolution?
I will make a motion to approve the revolution.
I'll second that.
Any other discussion on this? Roll call, please.
Trustee Horn,
Yes.
Trustee Razak,
Yes.
Trustee Udris,
Yes.
Trustee Gray.
Yes.
Resolution number 2018-2.
Thank you very much. Another item on the agenda, item H3, has to do with purchase of real estate. And basically, the board is attached to the contract to purchase vacant property as previously discussed by the village board. You have that purchase contract in front of you, and we're just looking for a motion to authorize the mayor and clerk execute the documents attached to the same.
Could I have a motion on that, please?
I'll make the motion.
Second?
I'll second.
Any discussion on the motion? If not, roll call, please.
Trustee Horn,
Yes.
Trustee Razak,
Yes.
Trustee Udris,
Yes.
Trustee Gray.
Yes.
Thank you. And one other item, Mayor, that is not on the agenda, but it's by way of information. I've been notified by Franciscan Health that basically their intent is to close down the Franciscan Health Chicago Heights Center at 1423 Chicago Road in Chicago Heights on or about August 29th of this year. And the anticipated schedule of closure should be completed over the week of August 27th. And all dates are contingent upon approval of several elements of the project under the Illinois Department of Public Health, and those elements are subject to change. So notably, August 29th is the anticipated date that emergency and labor delivery services at Franciscan Health Chicago Heights campus will close, and emergency and labor delivery services will both be available at the Franciscan Health Olympia Fields location, 20201 South Crawford in Olympia Fields. So this has been a long and arduous task that Franciscan Sisters has been going through, and it looks as though that by the end of the month they will have attained closure of the what was formerly known as St. James in Chicago Heights. And Mayor, that concludes my report for now.
Thank you very much. We'll move on to the officials' report. Public Works, Trustee Gray.
Two things this evening. First off, the railroad tracks that are actually in University Park right east of Bimba, those will be closed at the end of August. They're going to be redoing those tracks. So the people that live in Country Meadows, I'm sure some folks from Gulf Vista go out that way. They can go out the back road to get out. Just so you guys know, at the end of August, they're going to shut those down for about 7 days to redo the set of tracks. Also, too, I'd like to talk about the mosquito spraying and how it works, and I would like to bring up Superintendent Gonzell to actually speak about that and what they see and don't see and what social media sees. David, it's all yours.
3 minutes, please.
Yes,
Start the
please.
clock, please. Good evening, Board. I hope everybody is doing well. There has been some recent conversation, some chatter about the alert ways we alert residents about mosquito spraying. Because of the nature of mosquito spraying and the back-to-back days that we do them, historically we've done them always towards the end of the week, Thursday, Friday, Saturday. It's really a weather-driven event. You have to have the right conditions to do that, but we notify on Facebook. It's been very successful because it is more of an immediate notification system. It is safe. We are registered by law to be able to have the state certifications to be able to apply the product, to be able to spray in accordance with that label, with the chemical that we use, which is a very non-lethal type of chemical. It doesn't provide any harm respiratory to human, dogs, pets, fish, people, anything along those lines. It is focused on a mosquito, so that you don't have to worry about that. Because of the back-to-back evenings, you get the best bang for your buck with the budget on that, because you can get them when they're flying at dusk, when they're coming out at the most times of the night, to be able to do that, to look for that blood meal. Really, the alerted on the Facebook post is really the quickest way that we can alert people to do that, because if we're doing it, we put the post out. If we not, or that weather shifts or changes, we stop. There's information flyers that we've always had available here at the village. They are available to anybody who comes into the village. Our website had this information, is now a splash page. It has that information until we develop that. And then there's some follow-up information, some control fact sheets up in the front that lets people know a little bit more detail, a little bit more of what I'm kind of referring to. It's safe, non-toxic to people, won't hurt you.
Dave, you want to mention how if they see people walking?
Yeah, so, historically, when we've seen somebody walking, out of respect to that, the machine makes a loud noise. It alerts anybody that's walking, we're coming. We usually have a strobe light going. The courtesy has always been to shut the machine off if it's in the middle of actually performing the spraying operation. Once we clear that obstacle, we start it back up again. It's not to say that the drift or the mist will not reach those walkers eventually, and you'll smell it, or whatever the case may be. But just out of respect, we do that just because, even though it is not lethal to anybody or won't hurt anybody, it's a form of respect for the residents that are out there. So we try to do our best within reason to find those people while still eyes on the road, 10 and 2, doing that kind of thing. We won't be able to catch people on a porch or in a garage. We're not looking around, scanning everything. We're on the road. We're doing our thing. So it's kind of hard to catch people having parties in the backyard. But, if you're walking along the sidewalk or on the edge of a road in the older part, we do shut it off. And Trustee Gray's probably referring to that only for the fact of he's witnessed that with his own eyes, that we've done that. I can say that. So, but we just do that out of respect.
Thank you. Thank you,
Okay.
Dave.
Thanks, Dave.
No other questions? Thank you. Have a good day.
End of report.
I just wanted to make a comment about it, if you don't mind. I don't like the odor either, okay? We close our windows when we hear them coming. But we would never put out something that is toxic or not approved by the state, we all have, well, my children are all grown up, but people that are sitting around the board here have children here too. And they're going to breathe it too if they're outside. It's not going to hurt them. Give us some credit. It's terrible when I read, I don't read it, Monee page and this and that, and people use very nasty language telling us how stupid we are doing that. But maybe they want West Nile mosquitoes here. We don't. They're here in Will County. So, end of my comment. Thank you very much. We'll move on to Parks and Recs. Trustee Horn.
Thank you, Mayor, and good evening, everyone. Couple things to keep in mind. Our next event, I believe, that we have, next big event at least, is the Fall Fair, and that is the weekend immediately after Labor Day. Many events going on, as in years past. The one thing I wanted to emphasize was the need for volunteers in all facets of the event. If you can give an hour, if you can give a day, or even more, thank you very much for that. you want to reach out to myself, or actually Diana would probably be the best to do. Send her an email, call the village hall. Anyway, get your name out there. Help us out, please. Number 2 is we have a newsletter going out, trustees and department heads, and if you would like to have something in that newsletter, an article, or you have a suggestion of something that should be included in that newsletter, please let us know. End of report.
Okay, we'll move on to finance. Trustee Blue is not here. Darrell, is there anything you need to say about it? I don't think you do. The only thing I ever ask you to do is have me sign less checks, but you keep telling me I can't do that, so I work on it, though. Thanks, Darrell. We'll move on to economic development. Scott Yurtis.
Good evening. Just from the Economic Development Department, just know that they are extremely busy keeping up with existing projects that are going on within the village, and at the same time looking at the many opportunities that this village has for improvement going forward. So, end of report.
Okay. Okay, we'll move on to building services. Trustee Razik. Anthony, I'm sorry. I'm used to you over there, you know.
I got a few things. First one, applications for 2 new homes in Eagle Fair have been submitted to the village. The rental property ordinance packets and registrations went out on Monday to all the landlords and homeowners. And lastly, Dave, Administrator, do I do that now? Do I get a consensus for the board to have Larry write up the golf cart ordinance?
Yes, would you like to give a short report on your committee meeting, and that'll kind of set the stage for everyone who
All right.
wasn't in attendance there?
Yeah.
Or I'm happy to do that it's entirely up to you.
You can do it.
Go ahead, David.
Okay.
You can
I
explain
might
it
say
all
that
there.
Anthony
It'll
read
allow.
the whole thing word for word
Sure.
at that meeting.
We did.
Trustee Racick provided a committee meeting on the introduction of golf carts as a community vehicle. It was a very thorough report. We took it after an ordinance that's in existence in another community, and there's a few items that Trustee Racick would like to tweak and to accommodate and be more fitful for the village of Monee. But basically, it's to authorize the intended use is to use golf carts, bring them up to street legal standards, and use them on municipal streets, and allow them at certain instances to cross certain busier highways, such as I believe Route 50, but only at the signalized intersection, should that be required. But it's just another avenue that Trustee Racick believed that would allow the community to get out and about a little easier, especially in neighborhoods, and that's why they're really called, referred to many times as neighborhood vehicles. So the intent this evening is to address the rest of the board, and if there is any questions, I believe that the trustee would be looking for authorization to at least move it over to the attorney for construction of an ordinance.
I do have one question. I agree in theory with the whole idea of having those accessible on the road. My only question, and I was not able to be there at your meeting, of course, how do you deal with the carts on county roads, for instance, Court Street? Is there a prohibition against that, or we take into account?
Court Street's a village street, so they would be allowed on Court Street.
Okay, but it is going through, it is maintained by the county.
Yes.
Am I correct on that?
Yes.
No,
But
that-
they-
no, it's
No,
the the village is taking ownership of that road.
Within the village
Corporate limits.
Okay.
Yes, sir.
But
Okay.
these golf carts, they can do 25 miles per hour, 25 miles an hour.
Yeah.
And
So
do
it ain't like
they,
you're going to be going behind a golf cart, it's going 10 miles an hour.
and they would have the slow vehicle
Moving
sign?
placard, yes.
Placard? Okay,
Yes.
thank you.
You bet.
It's still in discussion, and we're talking stickers and all kinds of equipment they need on it, turn
Yep.
signals, brake.
Headlights,
We could get
brake
into the whole
lights.
thing, but it's under discussion yet. It'll be a safe situation, I believe. So. Thank
So-
you, Anthony.
Yes. So, Mr. Mayor, I believe that trustee Racick was looking for a motion to move this
Sure.
to the attorney for an ordinance.
So I'll make that motion.
Is there a second?
I will second.
Any other discussion?
Anything, Bill?
If not, roll call, please.
Trustee Razick,
Yes.
Trustee Udris,
Yes.
Trustee Gray. Trustee Horn.
Yes.
Is that your end of your report,
Yeah,
Anthony?
end of report. Thank you, everyone.
Okay. Obviously, Mr. Holston isn't here today. Anything, Scott, you would like to say?
I have a few
I don't
items.
always mean to put you on the target there, but the other target's not here, okay?
That's why you make me sit up here. I'll live with it. Just a few items, Mayor. Saturday morning around 10 o'clock, we had a subject that was cleaning out his grandfather's belongings and discovered a fragmentation grenade and some other military ordnance. He decided to bring these items to Monee PD for disposal. After conferring with the Cook County Sheriff's Bomb Squad, we set up a safety zone, which was initiated by the Monee Fire Department. The items were then turned over to the Cook County Sheriff's Bomb Squad, and they relieved us of our possession of them. This explosive and things like this was probably over 40 years old. And surprisingly, throughout the state, this is not an unusual occurrence, as many Korean and WW2 vets brought home souvenirs. And they're now being discovered by their descendants. So just as a personal favor, I would ask that people in the community, when they find these items, they take them directly to the Cook County Sheriff's Department. And we won't have to worry about that on Saturday morning anyway. Anyway, it was safely disposed of. On a more serious note, which that is a serious note, I guess, we had an arrest in Gary, Indiana, on a warrant for home invasion. Jameel Bush, 22, of Chicago, was arrested for a violent home invasion that we had about a year ago on Sunrise Court. And kudos to the investigators. They did a great job on the crime scene, and we discovered a small area of possible DNA. We submitted that DNA to the State Police Crime Lab. And last week, we got a match on Mr. Bush. So he was picked up by Gary PD, is now in custody of Will County on a $1 million bond.
Very good.
And finally, on behalf of Trustee Holston, I would like to ask the board to authorize the drafting of an ordinance regulating the use of drones within the village. There have been a couple of minor incidents in the last couple months, and there's limited enforcement power based on current state laws. So I would reference the Manhattan Village Ordinance, and many of them like them, including the City of Chicago, if you wanted to look at anything. But I would ask that they authorize the drafting of something so that we would have the necessary components for enforcement throughout the community.
Thank you very much, Scott. I wanted to mention one thing. I don't know how many of you realized that during the Japanese War, the Japanese put bombs with balloons. Some of them made it to this continent. And I think less than 5 years ago, they discovered another one in, I think it was Arizona or somewhere, that they found in the ground. So you're right. There's things everywhere. Thank you very much, Scott. We'll move on to the attorney's report. Yes, Larry.
He's looking for a motion to authorize the draft.
Oh, I'm sorry, the motion to authorize that draft. Could I have a motion on that, please?
I'll make that motion.
Good.
Second.
Any other discussion on it?
Funny that was brought up. I had a resident this morning ask me if we were flying a drone around because she was walking her dog, and one literally flew right in front of her face. It sat there for a couple minutes. She just waved at it, and it flew off. So funny how that's brought up today. That was it.
Okay, any other discussion? If not, roll call, please. Thank you, Larry.
Trustee Udris,
Yes.
Trustee Gray.
No.
Trustee Horn.
Yes.
Trustee Razick.
Yes.
Okay, we'll move on to the attorney's report.
Thank you, Mayor. I have two items for the board's consideration. The first item is an ordinance regulating the raising of chickens within the village of Monee. I believe it went to committee. Committee had a few comments regarding some of the terms set forth in the ordinance, but it is up for the board's review and consideration.
Is there any discussion on this? I need a motion first.
I'll make
Second.
Okay, I'm sorry. Discussion, please.
That was run through my committee, and I just want to say we borrowed heavily from other villages in the area that have similar ordinances. So all contingencies are taken into account. There is a lot of interest in having would it be, I don't know if it's homegrown or home-laid organic eggs, and this will address that.
Any other discussion? Roll call, please.
Trustee Gray? Trustee Horn?
Yes.
Trustee Razik?
Yes.
Trustee Udris?
Yes.
1870.
Thank you, Mayor. The next item is an ordinance with respect to a variance application submitted by Stephanie Rasmussen for 25810 South Chestnut. I believe this was up at the last board meeting. I was authorized and directed to draft an ordinance granting the variance for a facility on their premises. I know they're here tonight if there's any questions from the board, but at the last meeting I was directed to draft the ordinance, which I did appropriately. So it's up for the board's review.
Could I have a motion, please?
I'll make that motion.
Is there a second?
Second.
Second. Discussion. No discussion. Roll call, please.
Trustee Gray?
No.
Trustee Horn?
No.
Trustee Razik?
Yes.
Trustee Udris?
Yes.
Mayor Pop?
Yes.
1871.
That's all I have, Mayor.
Thank you, Larry. With that, we'll move on to the, I need a motion to remove the creamery lease
Good.
from being tabled.
Oh, from being tabled. So we're actually
We have to remove it from being tabled.
I'll make that motion.
Is there a second to that?
Second.
Any discussion? Roll call, please.
Trustee Horn?
Yes.
Trustee Razik?
Yes.
Trustee Udris?
Yes.
Trustee Gray?
Okay, so now I would say, you've all had the look at the agreement. I would like to have a motion to approve the agreement. Is there a second?
I'll second.
Second. Discussion.
I do have a question. On item, paragraph 10.1, I noticed that the tenant, which is the Monee Historical Society, has to have a $1 million liability insurance policy. Does not the village already have insurance on that property? So my question is that redundant?
The village does have the property insured. The user of the property, which would be the Historical Society, is indemnifying the municipality itself for liability reasons. The one thing that you have to take into consideration is that they will be handling the operations of the facility. It won't be handled under municipal operations. So, it could add or some liability potential there. It's common. I can have the attorney address that.
Thank you, Mr. Wallace. Yeah, I think it's very common. I'd rather be safe than sorry. Secondarily, the commission is not a profit-making organization. I'd rather have the money and the insurance behind us just in case, not the insurance company fight among themselves as opposed to us. So I'd rather be safe.
Any other discussion?
Yes, sir. One last thing is that, if you recall, I know this has been tabled for a while, but the draft you have in front of you was submitted to the Historical Society. It was reviewed by their council, and some changes were offered up. Those changes were incorporated after review by Municipal Council, and the final version, draft form, is before you. So
That's good.
it's gone back and forth a couple of different times, and both parties are in agreement.
With that said, roll call, please.
Trustee Horn?
Yes.
Trustee Razik?
Yes.
Trustee Udris?
Yes.
Trustee Gray?
Yes.
Okay, the McCorkle outlet is still being tabled. I don't need a motion on that yet. Again, do I? Very good. It's still being, trying to get ironed out between lawyers, so. So we'll move on to Republic Waste Management. Gentleman was here at our last meeting giving us some information about their waste problems, and they wanted to try to put an increase to cover unexpected costs. I think you're all aware of that. I need a motion to either, yes, Larry? Is it on the agenda? It's right here.
So, thank you, Mr. Mayor, for
We have to
bringing.
write it in.
Yes, thank you for bringing that up. The reason it is up is Mr. Lopez, who is representing Republic Waste Services at the last meeting, made a presentation, and it was mainly on this agenda, or not on this agenda, but on the board here as a reminder. It will appear on the next agenda for a decision, and Mr. Lopez will be appearing at that meeting to answer any further questions that the board may have after they have reviewed everything. One thing I would like to point out is that if you have an opportunity to go to the Village of Monee splash page, if you would, at villageofmonee.org. There is a recycling video that has been added on that we just recently received from Republic Services, and it's very definitive on what is recyclable, what isn't, and there are proper methodology for recycling properly. So if you'd take the time to review that, that'd be great, and you can look for this to appear on the next agenda. Thank you.
Okay. Do any of the trustees have any other old business? If not, we'll move on to new business. Any new business?
I do have something, Mr. Mayor. It's come to my attention that we have some clothing and shoe boxes in town. I can think of one location specifically, there may be more, that are very, they're a center for collecting, like I said, shoes and clothing, but quite frequently it's ill-maintained in the sense that there's clothing and bags of stuff, I don't know what it is, sitting outside the box. There is no, as you go up to the box, there's no ownership on it. There's no, we don't know who owns it. Let's put it that way. There is an 800 number. When you call the 800 number, it goes right to voicemail. So I've talked to a number of people who work and manage and own businesses in that plaza. This is the bank plaza I'm specifically referring to. And most of the time, they notice bags of clothing sitting to the sideline, sitting around that box. And this probably is 2 or 3 or 4 years ago, we had an ordinance before this board regarding the maintenance of those boxes, and that was voted down. I think it's time to revisit that. I would be happy. It doesn't necessarily fall in the purview of Parks and Recreation, but I would happy to have my committee review that and draft an ordinance, review the old ordinance, make changes to it as may be needed. My committee could do it, or perhaps that might fall under perhaps public safety. So I'd like to see us set up a subcommittee to discuss that, and it doesn't matter if it's my committee or another one.
I'm going to say this about that. I don't know why we can't look into that ourselves, the administration. Find out who operates that, we can do that. And they either clean up the mess and have a schedule of how often they go there or something, but we can talk to them about it. If that doesn't work, then we'll go another avenue.
Well, in all due respect, I would like to have something on the books for that to regulate that.
If I may also, I didn't know what Mayor Pop was going to say, but I actually know, like Scott knows, this is a one-time thing at this point. I know exactly what you're talking about. It was a one-time thing. That box hasn't been an issue before, and I'm not sure if there's a box still by the old La Villa. There are a couple boxes in town. This was a one-time thing. I don't think we need to jump the gun and all of a sudden start drawing up an ordinance to make sure it gets picked up. Just like our pantry outside here, as we spoke about before, hopefully food doesn't get left on the ground because that just causes more issues. So why don't we just kind of monitor it? Like I said, myself, I live over there. Scott goes to that gym. Doug, I know you go there. Trustee Halstead goes there. If we see it be a nuisance, then let's bring it back up again. But why jump the gun because one time it wasn't picked up on time?
That's why I'd like to see
That's
the
my opinion
administration
on it,
handle
that's all.
that. I think we can with a phone call.
That's just my opinion. and,
Monitor
you
it
know.
from there.
You know, I was really not aware of it. I don't pay attention. I had never really even noticed it there because my business takes me in the other corner of the plaza. But talking to business owners and managers. Now, when I went there yesterday, it was actually all clean. But I did ask the owners and managers, and I spoke to 2 or 3, and they said majority of the time it is there's debris around it. And I did call the 800 number and asking who it belongs to, and I haven't gotten a response. So I don't know how we're going to tell them to pick up their stuff and maintain it if we don't even know who it belongs to.
Question that I would have, I'm
Go
sorry,
ahead,
Mayor,
Scott,
would
please.
be when these boxes are placed, do they have to fill out any application with the village? Is there any permission that has to just be given by the landowner? Who would have a record as to who placed that box there?
David, I can't answer that one.
Generally, those are placed on private property and should obtain permission from private landowners, so the plaza owner at this point. But if the board wishes, we'll certainly look into that immediately and leave a message. One of two things: either they call back or we'll remove the box. We have the means and methods to do that, and that ought to get their attention.
Do we, Administrator Wallace, do we have the authority to remove that without having an ordinance in place?
Well, if there are complaints on trash and things of that nature, I think through working through the owner of the property, that we could certainly work with them to do that. I highly doubt that it would get to that level, though. I just believe that, at some point they're going to call back and we can rectify that situation, or at least attempt to.
Any other new business? If not, we'll move to open to the public, non-agenda items. Whatever you wish to speak about, please step forward. Give your name and address.
James Herman, 26057 Ruby Street. You probably get tired of seeing me, but I thank the police department. I have noticed increased patrols back there at what I call the shooting house. So, thank you. Okay.
Appreciate the compliment. Anyone else?
I just wanted to, I don't want to take long, but on behalf of myself, the Monee Alliance of Churches, and the 200-plus volunteers who worked tirelessly in quite a bit of heat last week, this Saturday, Action Monee was a success, and we want to thank the Village of Monee for its amazing support and backing. A big thank you to Mayor Pop, Village Administrator David Wallace, Superwoman Diana Kroll, the Board of Trustees, the Village Police, the Fire Department, Public Works, Emergency Management Departments. Without those helping us, it would have never successfully accomplished the feat that we did this past Saturday. We mobilized teams of young people to do 18 service projects in Gulf Vista alone. From repairing rotten steps on decks to landscaping, painting, window cleaning, power washing, and a myriad of many other things, people were helped who couldn't help themselves. We gave a facelift to the creamery. We assisted the school district in painting and planting flowers on school grounds. We distributed food and fresh produce to over 300 families, which calculates to almost 1,300 individuals. Over 15 pounds of produce came from our own Monee community garden that we built last year in the Love Monee event. We gave away tons of clothes, books, provided free haircuts for 36 people, mostly children and elderly. We provided several jobs, installed 2 micro pantries designed to allow anonymous food to be picked up for those in need and dropped off for those who wish to donate. Obviously, one located outside the building that we will keep an eye on as well. And again, we just extremely grateful for your support and everything that was done on behalf of our community. And together, I believe that we're really making an impact. So thank you.
Thank you, Pastor David. I did want to say, David, that you do a great job, but we will be having a meeting with our Park and Rec person, Administrator Wallace and myself, tweaking it a little bit here and there, expecting it even better. Let's put it that way. Okay. Thank you. Anyone else open to the public?
Good evening. Seamus Flanagan from Eagle Fair Estates. I'm sure you all know me by now. You too, Larry, I'm sure. I applied for another permit for a building permit on Eagle Fair Estates, and Mike, the building commissioner, informed me this evening that $12,000 impact fee was back in again. So right here I got a letter signed by the mayor and the clerk saying that on all my lots that fee was that didn't exist anymore for all my lots. You know, the ordinance was lifted for my lots in the subdivision, like, you know, and that was dated in August of 2017.
May I ask, I can barely hear you, may I say that? But what are you asking for here? We know the impact fees are there and other things, yes?
No, the impact fees were waived on my lots. That was
on that home? David,
no, on all the lots, on all my lots. I got it here signed by the mayor and the village clerk, and it was recorded. You guys want to see it?
We can take a look at it. And they can't take action tonight anyway, Shannon, it's not on the agenda. But I can show the board and the mayor and the administrator to release the lien.
Excuse me, Larry?
I can show they can't take action on it tonight. It's not on the agenda. I have to bring it up, to the board at the next board meeting. To release the lien.
Yeah, but it's already recorded. It's already there.
I understand, but, you know, technically it's supposed to be on the agenda so the board can take action on it.
I'm lost. I don't know why there is any action.
Let me do this. With the board's permission, I can call you tomorrow and explain a little further how we would proceed with this.
Um,
Because under the law, if it's not on the agenda, That's why they try to be specific.
I just don't understand why it's an issue, because we already went through this and we already got it recorded and we already got them released, so I don't know why it's an issue.
I understand. I can, again, I'll talk to the mayor and the administrator and call you tomorrow.
Okay, thanks.
You want this?
Yeah.
You got a recorded copy? Which lot's that for?
What's that?
Which lot?
For all my house.
No, which lot are you put a permit in for?
63.
Okay.
James, can she make her copy?
Yeah.
Okay, you bet. Thank you.
Anyone else for open to the public? Or did you have more?
Yeah, just one more thing. Regarding the spec houses, I guess there was an ordinance for no spec houses in the village. We already had it rescinded on the last one I did, and I was hoping to get that rescinded too, that we could do another spec house.
You want to do a spec house?
Yeah, like the last one, yeah.
Yeah.
That we're going to have to discuss.
This board was not in, there's some new board members.
Right.
Seamus and Salat, that was adopted. I'll bring it up to the board and explain the rationale behind it. We understand your situation. As you know, we worked with you before in the past. We'll work with you
Right.
again. But it's only right that I bring the board up to speed and the rationale behind it and why we did it.
Okay.
That was what, 4 years ago, 5 years ago?
2012, I think it was.
That's 5.
Yeah.
Well, you agreed on that. Okay, now, anyone else open to the public? If not, we're going to move into executive session. We're going to talk about collective bargaining, 5-1 ILCS 120/2 C2. Purchase or lease of real property, 5 ILCS 120/2 C5. So, thank you all very much for coming. You're welcome to stick
Motion.
around
Motion.
if you wish. I need a motion to go into executive session.
I'll make that motion.
Any discussion? Roll call, please.
Trustee Razik?
Yes.
Trustee Udris?
Yes.
Trustee Gray? Trustee Horn?
Yes.